Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Pedagogy in Practice. In today's episode, I am going to be talking to you about design tools, and specifically how to get started using it in your course. It's a wonderful tool that can also really help you out with aligning to the OEI rubric, or at least providing the structure to align to the OEI rubric. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, to get started using design tools, the first thing I'd like to cover for you is getting your settings established. So this is what I want you to do. Hop over to Pages in one of your Canvas courses, and then make sure to go to the top button in the right corner called Plus Page and click that. You have to be in the edit function of a page in order for design tools to appear. Now you'll notice as soon as we have this page opened up, out in the top right-hand corner, we get this little rocket ship that pops out of the right hand. That's Design Tools. In order to open Design Tools, go ahead and click that. And we'll go ahead and that will launch the Design Tools menu. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is establish the settings to make sure that you have everything turned on that you need in order to do what we're going to do in this video. So once again, in the top right, once your Design Tools menu is open, go ahead and click the little gear cogs in that gray box, top right-hand corner. Once you click that, it's going to pop out another menu for you. And there's just several things you need to turn on. Make sure you have colors for banner theme on, customize color palette, colors basic, spacing, borders, HTML attributes. You don't actually need that one, so I'm going to skip that, my bad. And go ahead and turn on block alerts highlights, text emphasis highlights. And that's all you need for today's video. Then you can actually close that menu. And up next, I'm going to show you how to put content on a page. When it comes to actually starting to build content on your Canvas pages using design tools, or at least, using design tools to structure the way you're going to place your content on your page and making it look snazzy with some good graphics, the first thing that you actually need to do is in the design tools menu, you need to come up and choose a theme. And the quickest way to choose the theme is come to the Create Edit Content menu and expand that. Now, under Create Edit Content, you're going to see a button that says Choose a Theme. Once you select that, you are going to have a variety of options in these little colorful rectangles below. And as you mouse over any of those rectangles, they're going to give you a little preview to the left of what that theme is going to look like. Now, some of the ones that I really like to use include the flat sections one. First, I really like center justified graphics here in Canvas. I think they look snazzy. Not to say that the other ones don't. It's just my personal preference. So I would encourage you to peruse the list and find one that you like. And I'm going to go ahead and select flat sections too. Once I select that, you'll notice that the first element it's going to place on the page is actually the top banner image, right? So it's going to throw that there on the page. Now, design tools also works in what they refer to as blocks, and basically it's areas of a designed page that you can structure, and they each, have certain content that you can put in them. Now, some of them come with a preset, right? So it might be like an area where you want to put assignments. Other areas might be something having to do with instructions or things like that. But in order to add blocks and start building out your page, you need to come up to this blue button called Add Content Blocks. Once you select that, it's going to pull up the Add Blocks menu. Now you'll notice here in this menu, I have a bunch of the preset ones that come ready and with design tools. So for example, I know that underneath this top banner, I want to at least have space where I can type an introduction to my students. So I'm going to go ahead and type introduction. And you'll notice behind the menu on the page, it gives me a spot where I can put an introduction. In addition, I can also think about the types of things I'm going to have my students interact with. So I can come here and say, all right, I want to have, I know that I'm going to have some readings, right? And then I'm also going to have some assignments. And you notice that these come preset with icons in them. So I'm starting to build that out really quite nicely. But you may also say, well, Matt, there's some content on this page that does not come as a preset that I would like to use on a page. Well, Design Tools has thought of that too. Up here at the top of the Add Blocks menu is a field where you can actually customize it. So for example, I don't see one that specifies office hours. I can simply come in here, type office hours, and then click Add. And now I have a space with office hours added. And I can now go ahead and I'm going to close that menu. So this is what the page is starting to look like. I have my top banner. It's all generic right now. I have place for introduction text. I have readings, assignments, and a spot for office hours. Now you'll notice that the office hours does not have an icon associated with it like readings and assignments do, because that was established in design tools prior. So in order to get an office hours icon, if I come over here back to my design tools menu under create edit content, then add rearrange content blocks, you'll notice that I have this office hours spot here, and if I mouse over it, it highlights it blue on the page, letting me know which element I'm working with. And next to the office hours over here, I have this little square gray rectangle. Well, yeah. So if I click on that, it's going to pull up the icon menu for me, and I can go ahead and find something that I think represents office hours. So I can come here and say clock. And sure enough, it pulls up a clock. Now I will let you know it does not work well with plurals. It works really well with singulars when you're searching for icons here. So I'm just going to click the clock icon, and now the clock is deposited right there on the page in the same style as the rest of the theme that I chose. Up next, I'm going to show you how to edit this page. All right, now that we've kind of chunked your page into different blocks, right, of design tools content, one thing that we want to do now is let's talk a little bit about how to add text and to the page. So what you want to do is we can go ahead and minimize the add rearrange content blocks, and let's go ahead and go all the way down to customize banner text right here. Now the banner is this top bar that first appeared at the very top of the page. And you'll notice that over here under unit name, it shows text, and up here on the page we have text. Here we have 2 pound symbols or hashtags, and those are right up here. We also have a title. So I can come into this area here and I can actually change this. So I may come here and say this is actually going to be for fall, and I can say 2022. Now I don't often recommend putting in specific semesters or dates, because then if you ever want to import your course from one semester to the next, then you're going to have to remember to go in and change those. But just for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to put fall 2022 at the top. You might put it, the unit, right, that you're covering, or the chapter, or whatever it is that you're covering in class that week. Now under content title, I can come in here and I'm going to go ahead and change this, and I will pretend that this week in the class is all about feminism and anti-feminism. So that's the topic we might be covering in class that week. And you notice that as I change it over here in Design Tools, it's also changing on the page. Now, in order to change the content of the rest of it, I can pretty much just click on the page, and I want to be cautious about how far I delete things, because if I go too far, it's going to bump me up into the previous thing. So you'll notice I've deleted the introduction text right here, but if I go past that, right, I totally remove that block altogether. So let me go ahead and jump back down. I just hit enter, and you'll notice that if I hit enter, it still doesn't give me that block. So you really need to be cautious about how far back you hit delete. So let me go ahead and I'm just going to get myself that, we'll leave that introduction text block off for now. But I'm going to come here to my reading list, and I can simply, I'm going to once again be cautious about how far back I'm deleting, but I'm going to say I want chapter 1 and section A, right? So I want that done for this week. I can also come down here and I can also say if I had a PDF reading or something in a class, I could link that right there as well. Now in terms of assignments, I can come down here and I can, of course, be cautious about how far back I delete, but I will say week 10 homework. Okay. Now, in a later video, I'm going to show you how to turn these all into links, but for right now, I'm just putting that there. And of course, in office hours, I can come here and, being cautious with what I type, I can come down here and delete that text, and I will say office hours for Professor Jones are being held Monday and Wednesday in room, whatever that number is, from 10 a.m. to noon. So there you go. That is the quick overview of how to adjust the page. Up next, I want to point out some things that how using design tools actually helps you get started with aligning to the OEI Course Design Rubric. All right, so now that we've sort of got a general sense, a very basic sense of how to start building a page using design tools and making sure to structure the page, the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the OEI Course Design Rubric and how using design tools in your course can actually help you by getting you started in aligning to that rubric. And just so you know, back in 2017, our academic senate actually approved the OEI Course Design Rubric as the official go-to resource for designing our online courses. But a lot of the lessons you learn from the rubric apply to face-to-face courses as well. So the first thing that I wanted to draw your attention to, and mostly we're going to focus around OEI Rubric Section A, which deals with content presentation. Now, in the page that we were designing, I mentioned that we were designing by blocks. But see, you can also make a block that is specifically relevant to the objectives. So by placing your objectives on the type of content you're creating, whether that be a page, an assignment, a quiz, a weekly introduction, you can help get yourself started by, by giving yourself a foot forward by aligning to that rubric. You can also really, in that space, in that chunked area, really explain the clarity of your objectives so that, you want to make sure that it's student-centered language, that it's something that they're going to understand, and that when you put it there, it makes sense to them about what you're looking for. Of course, using design tools also eases your course navigation. Now, what we want your students' cognitive load focused on is learning the material, not trying to figure out how to access your material. So using design tools makes it a very clean course that's easy to navigate, which also helps with element A4 of the rubric, which focuses on course navigation. And in order to align, if you look at the middle checkbox there, it says navigation and content flow are easily determined by user. And then I would say, I could even argue that design tools takes it to the next step, which is clearly labeled tutorial materials explaining how to navigate the specific course are included. If you do that, you're golden. Now, also, I mentioned that, we talked about the placement of objectives. You can also do unit level chunking, right? So within each week, you make sure that you have an introduction page and you put a block on your design page that specifically talks about, the unit, right? And how the content is meaningful, and you need to make sure that the content is meaningfully segmented into distinct units. I'm having trouble talking in this video. I don't know why. And then, of course, you can even take it from the overall unit, and you can chunk using design tools blocks on specific pages, assignments, quizzes, in your announcements, and it's a really handy way to start yourself with aligning to the rubric. So I hope you found this video useful. We will see you next week with another pedagogy in practice, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on our videos. All right, see you next time. Bye.